Our mission is to improve the health and well-being of pregnant people and parenting children and enhance early learning. But one of the statements that we use the most is our impact statement. I think that's the one that really dives deeper into our work and how we are combating issues that have been around for many, many years. So it's parents with racial and social inequities can birth with dignity, parent with autonomy, and raise babies who are healthy, growing, and thriving.
At Penji is our commitment to helping those who are making sacrifices to help others. Thank you to those making a difference in your community. We are currently accepting applications for Penji for nonprofits. If you know a nonprofit or you are one yourself, head over to penji.co and click on Penji for Good at the bottom of the website to learn how to qualify. If you are listening to this podcast and are not a nonprofit, well, welcome. Become a customer by using the custom coupon code within the podcast show notes. Proceeds of all sales goes directly back to the nonprofit from this interview. Now, back to the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Unified Purpose, the podcast where we share inspiring tales of compassion, resilience, and community spirit. I'm your host, Shannon, Penji's Partnership Coordinator. I'm joined here today with a very special guest, Samantha Harklerode from Maternity Care Coalition. Thank you so much for being on with me today.
Great to be here. I'm excited.
Me too. Thank you so much. I've been, I already told you before the podcast, but I've been looking into your organization and I'm really excited to talk to you today, not only because I think you do great work, but also because my sister actually just had a baby earlier last week, her first. And it's so exciting, but it also, put into my mind, one, that we were having this podcast come up, but also that I know a lot about, how a lot of people are disadvantaged after having a child, not only during, but also years beyond. So it's really great that the work that you guys doing, and we'll get into talking about that a little more. So thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
So your mission, one, could you state that for everyone listening? And then could you also kind of tell me what it means to you personally?
Yeah, so our mission is to improve the health and well-being of pregnant people and parenting children and enhance early learning. But one of the statements that we use the most is our impact statement, which I think that's the one that really dives deeper into our work and how we are combating issues that have been around for many, many years. So it's that parents with racial and social inequities can birth with dignity, parent with autonomy, and raise babies who are healthy, growing, and thriving. I just think it's like such a powerful statement, and it's one that was developed in 2020, 2021, when the agency went through our theory of change work. And so that, for me, I'll kind of break it down. So birth with dignity for me is really about this ability for someone to have, choice and how that's interconnected to dignity. And when we don't see people as humans who should have access to things like choices, we're really devaluing them and their worth and removing their dignity. The next, birth with dignity, parent with autonomy is next. I'm a mom of two little boys. I have an almost 4-year-old. He'll be 4 in 2 weeks, and then a 7.5-month-old. And parenting is one of the most profound experiences I have ever had. It's something that I don't think you can ever really be prepared for. It's 100% challenging and 100% beautiful at the same time. And as a parent, I really believe as a person that you should have, agency in determining how I parent. If you choose to have kids, how you parent is going to look a lot different. And every parent should be able to do that. And, my husband and I make decisions based on our, experiences growing up, our cultural influences, the education we've had. And so for that connection, for me and at MCC, our role is we provide parents with resources and services and education, but we work with them in making their own parenting choices and their own parenting decisions. And then the last statement there is raise babies who are healthy, growing, and thriving. and kind of, it's all interconnected. Like, raising children is hard, but raising children in void of support or equitable access, as I talked about earlier, is even harder. A lot of our work at MCC focuses around the social determinants of health. So this is like where somebody lives, where they work, the education they've had, and all of these things shouldn't be dictating the kind of healthcare you receive, right, and the health outcomes you receive, but they do, right? They do dictate that. And so our work is focused on trying to eliminate some of those barriers, both at the individual level, community levels, and at different policy levels.
That's beautiful. So you actually just touched on a couple, but I was wondering if you could kind of lay out some prime examples of the ways parents can be negatively impacted by racial and social inequalities, so that for anyone that wouldn't know off the bat, like, what those are.
Yeah. So to think of the social determinants of health there. So, if you think of access, so simply like, how are you getting to the doctor's office? Do you have access to things like transportation? Is there a health center in your community, or are you traveling a far ways to get there? Do you have childcare for maybe other children that while you're taking your pregnant self or maybe your newborn to the doctor, you have somebody else caring for your other children? Then we think of, racial bias. Like, when you go to the doctor, does the doctor look like you? Do they have a unique understanding and experience of what it's like to be a Black woman who's, birthing in America? And a lot of the times that's no. And so people are experiencing both and being able to access that, but also in what it's like to show up in that space and feel safe and heard and valued, and, the things we talk about with dignity. And it's just it's pervasive and predominant throughout, the experience of many people who are Black and brown and just like walking through America. And so, we're taking that and both, again, doing work at the policy level, but also at the individual and community level. In our I guess we can just talk about our state. Like, we don't have paid leave. And so that's just like a policy that if we had that, especially for parents who don't have support systems, who are being demanded to go back to work just weeks after giving birth, this would allow them to have that paid leave to care for their body after just delivering a human and to care for their newborn.
Yeah, no, I definitely resonate with that, seeing my sister go through that exact thing for paid leave is incredible. It's actually her husband, his paternity leave is so generous in comparison to hers. And that's fantastic, but it's just baffling. It's great. Like, yes, it's nice that someone is able to be home for much longer, but it's difficult. And then after that, at some point, they're both going to have to be here, and then they're both paying for childcare, and that's just it's a struggle, and it's so much more of a struggle for anyone that anyone experiencing inequality or someone below a certain income bracket. It's so much more troubling, and I definitely resonate with the right to dignity is something that I think is so crucial, that I think a lot of people don't even think about because they don't experience it themselves. But I remember reading a lot up on how Black and brown women specifically are discussed in the medical field as like their pain tolerance being higher, which is like such a inane concept to that doesn't give them
that's like a racist example.
Yes, exactly.
Racism show up in healthcare. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's really nice that you're working towards combating that, because I don't run into a lot of nonprofits that consider this idea specifically, which like I think not enough people know about. But it's really incredible to know that that's also put on the forefront, because of course, like, safety and happiness is always supposed to be like at the top, but dignity is an idea that a lot of people don't consider because there's so many racial biases that people don't factor into how they're talking about things.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, like the parenting is hard for anybody, but I think especially if you are walking through life with having experienced, constant or racism, like it definitely makes it more challenging.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's difficult to do what you need to do when everyone is judging you or like it or just like treating you in a way that you wouldn't like to be treated. That's so awful. So okay, I'm so bad at getting a track. It's very I just say, yeah, this is a topic that I really care about. But could you tell me a little bit more about, okay, so you did mention that you're also a mother and maybe that's why you got involved in this, but is there like kind of a story behind how you got involved in this work, like kind of how it all started and what inspired you to get involved?
Yeah. So I worked in nonprofits my entire career. I started off in fundraising a bit, doing some grant writing. And it was that first experience that I realized, like fundraising matters. Like if you don't have a healthy revenue stream or a diverse revenue stream, you can really put your organization at risk, even if you could care to the moon and back about the mission. And so that was like an interesting note, like, okay, I'll remember that. I then did some nonpartisan campaign work during the 2012 presidential election year, and then started doing direct service work and working with families here in Philadelphia, in the West Philadelphia area. And I really loved being in a community-based nonprofit. Like I found that to just be a really strong way to connect with the mission. I liked working with the people, liked being in the community. And my boss at the time, who is a close friend of mine as well, you should have her on the podcast. She would just say to me, like, wow, your brain, you think, really strategically, you're really good at talking to people. Like, I think you could really bring a lot of worth to a nonprofit if you did like, fundraising at this larger scale, or if you did more like leadership stuff. And I was like, okay. So she and I talked about that, and not only a friend, but like a mentor of mine. And so that really took me down this path of, okay, let me get really good at fundraising. And if I can get really good at fundraising, I can take that skill and work at a community-based nonprofit. So I went and got a job at Penn and was at the University of Pennsylvania for 7 years. And learned fundraising, like the ins and outs of it. And I'm really, really grateful for that experience. I got my master's while I was there as well in nonprofit leadership. And then I reached a point where I feel like I knew a lot of information that I could then take that and apply it back to a nonprofit. I had my son September 2020, so it was a really crazy time in the world.
My stepsisters also gave birth during the pandemic. It was nothing. Talk about dignity. You can't even have your husband in the room, depending on where you are.
Yeah, it was definitely challenging. That could be a whole podcast in itself. But that's when I thought, like, okay, like let me take this skill. I just had a kid, like what feels close to me. And MCC was, looking for vice president of advancement and external affairs, and I applied, and the rest is history. And it's just a great place. It's just a combination of my goal to be at a community-based nonprofit, being a mom. I feel really connected to the work. The people are absolutely brilliant and dedicated. I just feel so lucky and grateful to be working here. And then I can bring a skill set and help the organization at the same time.
That's so beautiful. That's so lovely to be able to kind of, like you naturally segued into this position. It's something that like really is fitting. So that's so wonderful. So how do you translate this experience in fundraising to now what you're doing now? Are there a lot of parallels from what you learned previously, and maybe what has changed when working with a nonprofit to working for a university?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yes to both. Like, there's definitely parallels. Fundraising is, and this is said a lot, like it's an art and a science. And so there are techniques that you learn in fundraising, whether it's like behaviors and trends. Like we're people and we're complex humans, but we also just have trends and behaviors that we do. And I learned that at Penn, like, okay, pay attention to someone's like giving history or what their activities they're engaging with your organization, and take that information, like those data points, and then that's when the art comes in, is craft some kind of appeal or meeting or personalized way to bring them closer to the mission, to engage them more and ask them to give. And so that like founding principle, I think, applies anywhere. Mm-hmm. What's different about a Maternity Care Coalition than my time at Penn is at Penn, like my role at Penn was to solicit alumni. So like I had my pool of people that you solicit, they went to Penn, that's who you were going after, if you will. And at MCC, we don't solicit alumni. Like that's that thing, right?
That would be kind of messed up if he was like, people that you've helped, you're like, hey, could you also like give us money also?
Yeah, I think we do have clients that like have given, but yeah, it's not like target audience. It's really, for us, it's people that are working in maternal health or child health or early learning. We have foundations, we have individuals, we have corporations. We get a lot of government funding. That complexity in funding streams is also something that I didn't experience at Penn, because Penn's so big. Like I was one of like 600 plus people doing fundraising. And at MCC, it's much smaller. And so, yeah, like who we're soliciting looks different. The team size is different, but I think it really does go back to the end of the day, fundraising is about people. And connecting people to something that they've already said they're interested in. Like, I think fundraising to some people can be really scary, but generally, for the most part, you're talking to people that have opted in some expressed interest in your mission. So you're just further explaining that to them and engaging them in it and exciting them, where you can say, like, do you want to help? Like, do you want to help make this possible? And usually like, yeah. And then great, like you can give your money. This can help make it happen. And I think the one other thing I'll say that's really important that I experienced throughout my career in fundraising is for fundraisers, it's just really important to center the mission and center, whether it's your students or your clients, whoever it is, over the donors and funders. Like, I think there's some definitely being phased out in recent years, but practices where you can get into like exploitive behaviors with students or clients where like you're displaying them or putting them on show, and in no way, shape, or form in any instance should somebody who is a recipient of what your organization is doing have to do anything. And so it's, as a fundraiser, being able to have, if required, those hard conversations with funders or donors that say like, no, back to the dignity piece, like these people have dignity. That thing is required of them. Your gift should have like the no strings attached in terms of like access to the clients or the students.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. That's like, I think a lot of people, even when we do podcast outreach, like people think that this is some kind of transaction, which I'm sure that there are a lot of podcasts, especially business related ones, that are transactional. But we're kind of just here to make friends and learn more about people. I love learning on the podcast. It's my favorite thing. But I know that's it's very difficult, because I think that so many relationships are transactional that a lot of people assume things if you're offering them things. So actually, speaking of that, how are you able to get the attention of your audience? Not for maybe fundraising purposes specifically, but for, finding people who need this kind of help and reaching them?
Yeah. So we do a lot of, marketing kind of like strategies and stuff. I think our biggest one is what works for us historically has been like word of mouth. I mean, we've been around for over 40 years. We've served 155,000 families since our founding. And the experience, again, of being a parent is so personal and intimate that if you do have a positive experience with us, it's likely that you're talking to your other family members or friends or community about it. And so a lot of word of mouth happens there. A lot of word of mouth with our partners. So we work with like other providers, hospital systems. They'll recommend us to families, funders as well, like talking about, oh, have you heard of MCC or supporting their work? One of our, it's a brilliant marketing campaign, and it still exists to this day, is the idea of our work was to go into communities. And so we have vehicles that are wrapped with our marketing on them, and they're called the Mom Mobile. And so actually a lot of communities that we're in, they'd be like, oh, I know you as the Mom Mobile. I didn't realize you were formerly called Maternity Care Coalition. And so like that's a fun thing to embrace, right? And at one point the cars had like eyelashes on them. Like
I love that.
Yeah, I love that. I think that was a really fun technique, and we still have that. We still have wrapped cars, and we're actually in the process of getting wrapped minivans and a wrapped cargo van that will deliver resources and supplies to communities. It just got outfitted inside, and I did nothing with that. That was other teams at MCC.
It's incredible, though.
But those are great, like, I think guerrilla marketing tools, like in the community. We do a lot of events. We do a lot of like thought leadership is one of our focuses. So we both host events and speak at events, attend events, and speaking about our work. And then we have, traditional and digital marketing campaigns to reach people. So we, do both like traditional and earned media, social media, website. We produce flyers, palm cards, brochures. We've done a lot of billboard campaigns as well. We're currently working on some video projects, which we're excited about because I feel like it feels fancy to have video production happening for us.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That'll be nice when that is produced and comes out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really great to hear. I love hearing a stacked marketing plan because I think that it's really unfortunate, but it's common that a lot of, and you guys have been here for a really long time, so it's really great that you've built up to this point. That a lot of nonprofits struggle with marketing because they have like one person doing all of their marketing, or even like design related things like planning events, all of these things, and they're really spread very thin. So it's really so great to hear that you have all of these plans. I love the car is amazing. I think that's incredible. It's good that you're also doing events and billboards, all of these things. It's great to spread the word because I think a lot of nonprofits, they don't have the reach that they want. They're doing great things, but a lot of people just don't know about them.
Yeah, and we're really lucky. I think being here in our tenure helps with that. But I think if there's any funders out there listening to this podcast, like this kind of work matters, because it is related back to client recruitment and getting your name out there so you can help provide these services to people. And we're really lucky, and we do have some incredible funders and donors who see that, acknowledge it, and direct their funding towards it because they know it makes a difference. And a lot of organizations don't have that. And that, to your point, then they're operating on a shoestring budget for something that is really needed to make sure that their respective clients get the services they deserve.
Yeah, and I think that's it's hard for a lot of nonprofits, but it's really just reassuring to hear that you guys seem to be set with that or doing well. But funders, you're right, guys. If you're listening, it's always great to have more money, especially as a nonprofit. So, okay, speaking of help, can you share more about your volunteer process and how people can sign up?
Yeah, so you can go to our website, www.maternitycarecoalition.org, and we have a volunteer form there. And so you can fill that out, and there's different areas that you can express that you have like skill set in or interest in. And then we take that and we look at that and say, okay, what opportunities do we have available currently that match with that? We have committees across the organization that help with different respective areas. So I run the advancement committee, which primarily is people that are in fundraising that want to help lend their expertise and partnership. We will be launching a marketing, communications, and PR committee probably in the next year. We have a policy committee, a research committee, a committee on early head start, finance, governance, like a whole bunch of committees. So those are very skill-based. They're not come one, come all. It's more of an interview process of matching for those. We have an annual event that takes place in May called our Celebrating Mothers Brunch. This will be May 10th at the Philadelphia Lowe's Hotel. And we have a committee that helps do that. And so if you're excited about events that really like gets you all pumped up, we have a committee that we'd welcome you to be part of. We have groups, especially like college student groups or like community like Rotary groups or like synagogues and churches, like religious groups. They'll host donation drives for us. We've had like sororities do that as well, both like alumni sororities and current student sororities. Those are really big for us because one of the services we provide is a lot of resources to families like diapers, wipes, formula, baby and mom essentials. So that if that excites you, we'd welcome to do that. People have done it in honor of like their kid's first birthday or in honor of their own baby shower because they're like, I don't need anything, but let me host this and I can give a bunch of supplies to families. We actually have a donation drive coming up in about a month and a half. So again, if you're interested in that, you can visit our website and we will be you have an opportunity to sign up and sponsor a family basically and buy a bunch of stuff for them for the end of the year.
That is amazing. I really do love hearing when people have like a birthday party or something and they have they have everyone bring gifts to donate rather than gifts for them. Like I don't know. I'm the type of person I don't need anything. Like I don't if I need something I will get it. If I have the money to get it. But it's really great to be able to give back and that's a really great opportunity to share. So thank you.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this is all the time we have for today, and I really appreciate. I'm so sorry to cut it short because I really appreciate talking to you today and learning more about this organization.
No, it was great. I'm glad you had me on, and hopefully we can talk again soon.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And everyone at home, please don't forget to like and subscribe to hear more stories like this one. I really appreciate you watching. And don't forget to donate. We'll put everyone's information in the bio so that you'll be able to click on it. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
You've been listening to Unified Purpose, brought to you by Penji. Check out the show notes to learn more about today's guest. And to learn more about Penji, the human-first creative subscription service, head over to penji.co. And by the way, if you're still listening, it would mean the absolute world to us if you were to share this podcast with a friend and, of course, subscribe.